What's up, guys? It's Luis here. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up. The audio on this episode got a little bit wonky, so we are aware that we sound like we are in a tin can. Regardless, hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to The Married Therapist,
a relationship podcast
hosted by us, Luis and Amber Simide.
This podcast is all about love, conflict, and the gray areas.
If you like what you hear, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening. Now let's get to the show. Welcome back. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. One of our favorite things to do on date nights especially is ask each other questions. It's a way to really build intimacy and continue to learn about each other. Obviously, we know each other, but one thing we know about relationships and marriage, not only from the work that we do, but just from being in a relationship, is you never stop learning about your partner. And one of the ways that we are constantly learning about each other is through these questions. And like I said, we'd like to do it on date nights, but every once in a while, when we're not really in the mood to just watch Netflix all night, we do this at the end of the day too. And it has been really great whenever we have done it. And so Amber's going to talk about one of our favorite ones that we do.
Yeah, so in today's episode, we're going to go through these questions and answer them live. But we want to just let you guys know, if you're interested in a relationship card deck, one of our favorites is called the Skin Deep. We actually have a code for you guys to use if you want a digital deck or if you want a physical deck. You would just go to shop.theskindeep.com and then use the promo code Married Therapist to get you 15% off. Don't say that we're not looking out for you guys, because we are. But yeah, we can go ahead and get started with this incredible card deck. So
as a preface, we haven't seen these questions, so these are all brand new. So we are answering these things in real time.
Yes. No rehearsal over here. Okay, so the first question is, what do you think is the hardest thing for me right now?
Oh, for you. I think right now there's not a lot going on, but I know one thing that you recently have overcome is some skin issues that you were having. I know that was really, really sad for a long time. I know you got some new products back in January or so, and that was just really hard for you, because I know you love wearing makeup, you love going out, you love doing these things, and it was just really difficult for you to feel comfortable in your own skin. Not intended, but yeah, I know that was really difficult, and I think now that you have a new regimen going, that's been really helpful for you. It's boosted your confidence, and you just feel like yourself again. So I know that was a really, really significant challenge that you've been having lately. That has since more or less resolved.
Yeah, it definitely was rough. I had a chemical burn and just really did a number on me. Thank God for Vaseline. That honestly was the best thing ever. That made my skin improve significantly overnight.
Yeah, which is wild, because I know people have like all these 35-step skin routines, and Vaseline, which you can get at any drugstore, grocery store, did the trick for you. And yeah, I love that it was so simple and so effective.
Yeah. You got to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
I'm currently dealing with the breakout, which is a separate issue. But yeah, specifically with the chemical peel, that was a lot. I was crying in your arms. I just was itchy all over. I felt like there were tiny ants just dancing on my face. It was like the weirdest experience to go through. But yeah, I'm so grateful that I'm on the other side of that. And I'm extra grateful for your support, just holding space for me and just buying me Vaseline and just being really sweet and compassionate about that.
Yeah, and it was really hard for me too, because I couldn't like do anything about it. Like I can't give you new skin. Like I think I am naturally a fixer. I think both of us kind of are, just in the work that we do. But yeah, I didn't know what to do, because all I could do was just comfort you and listen, and which I know can be really helpful, and it was really helpful. But I wanted to do more, and I know I was like researching things with you and for you, and so I guess I did help in that way. But yeah, it was difficult for me, and I'm glad that you are on the other side of things now.
Thank you. And I did ask you to put some aloe vera or moisturizer. I was trying all kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
So there was about 2 different times when I wanted you to put it on my face.
The Vaseline, actually. I did the Vaseline on your face.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a Vaseline, and then it was a moisturizer
Yeah.
before we got the Vaseline. And there's just something so relaxing about you putting the cream on my face. I felt like I was getting a facial. And so that combined with everything else was more than enough. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so
So now for me, what is the
yeah,
hardest thing that I'm dealing with right now? Is that the question?
yeah,
Yeah, what am I dealing with right now?
yeah. So for you, the thing that you've been struggling with, I would say, is just recognizing how the trauma from your previous marriage has been impacting you,
Yeah.
specifically us,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to things like sex. I know it's been really
Mm-hmm.
difficult just to sit with all of that.
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of was all tucked away in your brain,
Yeah.
wasn't at the forefront, and now it's kind of right in your face, and it's a bit jarring to process.
Yeah, it was honestly surprising to me to recognize that that was something that I hadn't really dealt with. You know, in therapy a few weeks ago, we were talking about just like who I was before that marriage and how it really changed me, and like who I became afterwards. And I don't think that I really like grieved my former self and really recognized how it did change me, you know. And so as I recognized that and started to really think about who I was and where my mindset was with everything, I realized that was like I described it like a raw nerve that I just kind of uncovered. And the idea of touching it was like, oh, don't want to go there, you know? And so, yeah, because I think for me, I I really like prided myself with like how well I've healed from that and all of that. And you know, even we talked about that where I can talk about it without crying, without, you know,
Mhm.
getting angry. Like I can just talk about it very matter of fact. And that's really something that my therapist talked to me about, that people with ADHD are really good at compartmentalizing things, which is true. Like I can compartmentalize things and it can feel like I've healed, but really I've just ignored it, you know, so I don't have to deal with it. Yeah. So I think, yeah, you're spot on. That's definitely something that I'm going to have to tackle. And my current therapist, he's not specialized in trauma. So, you know, I mean, I'm in the midst of switching therapists, maybe temporarily, maybe for good. But yeah, I have to see someone who specializes in trauma so I can really dig through these things and figure some stuff out. Because yeah, I could have lived my life ignoring it, but yeah, it's impacting us in different ways, and yeah, just making me a little bit more hyper vigilant and not as in touch with myself and my body and what I'm feeling as
Mhm.
much as I had been previously. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I love the awareness, and I'm excited to see how things will go with this new therapist. And what I really love is that your current therapist told you about this. I feel like sometimes when
Hmm.
people are going through something like this, they'll just ghost their therapist and find a new one. So I
Yeah.
just love that it was an open conversation. He said, "Hey, I don't specialize in trauma,
Hmm.
but this is what you need. This specific," and you guys talked about like somatic experiencing,
Yeah.
specifically under the trauma umbrella. So I think that's really cool. I mean, I guess it would make sense because we're all therapists here,
Yeah.
but still, the ghosting happens a lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And I mean, he really didn't point out the fact that it was still a huge trauma for me. We were just talking about like who I was before that, and I was recognizing as we're talking about that I hadn't really grieved it. And so we were trying to talk about it a little bit. And I told him in that session that I will just need to like sit with it on my own because it feels like a lot right now. And so and it was like towards the end of the session. So we didn't have time to really go into it. But yeah, even as I talked about it with you afterwards, I recognized that I was feeling it. Like I was getting choked up just talking about it. And for me, that was enough indication that there was a lot there still. And over the next couple weeks, every time I tried to think about it, it was just I couldn't do it because it was just going to get really heavy. And I didn't really want to go there. And I don't. That's something that we talked about yesterday in my therapy session. Like, what was I afraid of? And I don't really know exactly. But anyways, that's yes,
okay, so
that's
he
where I'm
didn't
at.
mention it initially, but once you brought it to the table, he was able to give you additional insight on what
Yeah.
he thought would be most appropriate clinically.
Yeah, I recognized how big of a deal it was. So I was kind of brainstorming with him, like, I think I do need to go to a trauma specialist. And he agreed. And he, yeah, kind of helped me navigate what trauma modality would be most helpful for me
Yeah.
from his knowledge of me, because, we've been meeting for months now. And so, yeah, so that was really
Okay.
cool.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. The next question is, how do you know when I'm hurting?
Oh, man. I think for you are normally so you're like a ray of sunshine everywhere you go, and you're just like happy and joyful, and you're just like there's like a pep in your step at all times, almost always. And so if you are a little bit quieter than normal, granted, I will say you are good at communicating, so you typically just say it. And so, like, oh, I know that. But I can't, if you haven't communicated to me yet, I can normally tell that there's been a shift in the atmosphere in your mood. And yeah, you're just not as upbeat in the way you speak. Either that, or I this is actually really funny. If you are like irritated, or like you're just irritable, I can tell because you are typically a lot more matter of fact in the way you speak. And it's just like, oh, it's not as, just upbeat and joyful as normal.
It's corporate Amber reporting for duty.
Pretty much,
It's
yeah.
very funny.
And so when I know you're doing your corporate cadence, I was like, oh, I feel like there's a thing happening. But normally I let it play out, because you are really insightful and you can really work through your things pretty well. And so I think I trust that, and I know that that's going to happen at some point. If we are going somewhere and we're like on the road or something like that, I typically will check in. It's like, hey, I'm noticing a little difference. Is everything okay? Like, do you want to talk about anything? And if you're ready to talk about it, you will. But if not, you'll just be like, I am feeling something, but I'm not really ready to talk about it yet. I was like, okay. And so, yeah, so I can just tell in your demeanor is just a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing about Louise, he is incredible when it comes to that. And I do have many meltdowns. So you have gotten very skilled at that. Louise here, on the other hand, he hardly has meltdowns. And when he has challenges, it's few and far between.
Yeah.
So there's that. But with work specifically, you'll just keep talking about the thing
Yeah.
over and over again. Sometimes you'll just talk about something work related as soon as you get home.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like before bed. So it's
Yeah.
top of mind. And I'm like, okay, are you sounds like I just kind of reflect back. Sounds like you're really worried about it,
Yeah.
because of this and this. So that's more overt, of course. I would say covert would just be your facial expression.
Mm.
There's just something about it. It's kind of hard to explain, but
Like if I'm sad or something?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sad or something's just bothering you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're even consciously aware of how you feel in that moment when I see what's happening on your face,
Mhm.
or you are consciously aware of it, but you're working through it. But it's just a thing
Yeah.
that kind of happens, like this pensive slash concerned look. And I've gotten pretty good with being able to identify it, because there have been moments I'm like, hey, is everything okay?
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes you're like, no, I'm good. But then as you think
Yeah.
about it, or maybe I've been like, okay, well, I was just wondering, I wasn't sure if it was because of da 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 da. And then you're like, oh, actually, yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
about this thing.
Yeah, you are good at recognizing where I'm at a lot of times before I am able to recognize it. And so, yeah, like you said, you will notice me thinking and like being in my head. And a lot of times I think I'm just daydreaming, but then as you call it out, then I just think, No, I was actually thinking about that specifically for a long time. That's probably something I need to figure out what is going on with that.
Mm.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. That is what I've always wanted
Yeah.
in a relationship. I've wanted to be that for someone, and I've wanted someone to be that for me. So I
Mhm.
love that that's what we have.
Yeah, I love that you like just pull me out of my head sometimes because I can get wrapped up in there and get stuck there sometimes, and you are just like, "Hey, everything okay? What's going on? What's going on in that brain of yours?" And so, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is really helpful. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Okay, what have you learned to love about me that wasn't easy at first? Oh.
Ooh, no, there's not a lot. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that was difficult to love about you because you are just a lovable person. I think maybe just and it wasn't even difficult to love about you. I would say it was more difficult to manage, not difficult to love. I think just your moods, how they would fluctuate pretty frequently. I think at the beginning.
Not the we would say not the labile emotions, which just means when your emotions are just all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at the beginning that definitely gave me whiplash a few times. I'm just like, "Oh, we were just doing well. What's going on now?" And it wouldn't be super extreme where it was diagnosable, but it would definitely catch me off guard sometimes. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes, a lot of times it was really sweet though, because we would just be talking or watching Love is Blind or something like that. And you would just look at me like, "I love you so much," and just start crying. I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, that's very sweet. I love you too." And so I think those things they weren't difficult to love, but they were difficult to manage and recognize and to manage expectations that it's going to happen sometimes and it's not always about me. I think that was something that I had to learn because I think my default was always there's a shift in your mood. That means I did something.
Right.
And that's something I had to work through in therapy too. But I think I have learned to really have more compassion for you and more empathy and be able to navigate those waters with you. Yeah, so I think I've learned to just appreciate the labile emotions of yours sometimes. And you've gotten better. You're not as back and forth as much, but you still, every once in a while, it still happens just
Yeah.
because hormones and stuff.
Yeah, and I was definitely going to mention that. So, when it comes to my cycle, I don't think I've really ever been one to experience like PMS. Luckily, I know it's a large issue for millions of women, and there's something even worse than PMS called PMDD that's just very severe. Anyways, so I don't know if it's just because of age or environmental factors, but I have started to experience like the PMS symptom of having like a mood swing. And I am very aware when it's happening. And I'll just tell him, like, I'm irritable right now. So just throwing that out there. I don't ever want him to feel like he's going to get his head cut off because he's like, hey, can you pass the remote? And I'm like, you know, that is not the vibe. I am not trying to be like that. But honestly, like sometimes it's hard to control. So that's why I verbalize it. I just throw it out there. And so he knows, like, okay, let me not. And it's not a walking on eggshells kind of thing. It's just like, okay, maybe if he wants to joke with me or maybe ask a question that I already answered or something like that, it's like, okay, let me not. And sure enough, we look at the calendar and it's like, oh, I'm getting ready to start my cycle. So
Yeah.
this kind of tracks.
Yeah.
But yeah, also it's embarrassing. And I think like many women can agree
Yeah.
that it's a lot. And especially because there's all these jokes about it. Like, oh, crazy monster, like psycho girlfriend is just like
I knew some guys who call it Shark Week. And when I was in
that's funny.
I know I was in Uganda with them. There was a group of 10 of us, and I think 5 of them were girls, and they would do this like whenever a girl was just being snappy, that was kind of their signal that, oh, it's Shark Week. And if you're listening, it was just like the like baby shark little hand signal. Anyway, so they would do that, and that's what they would call it, Shark Week. Even if it wasn't, it was just kind of
Yeah.
a joke if they were being snippy.
And I think on that note, men should do research on what is actually happening in our
Yeah.
bodies to have more understanding and more compassion.
Yeah.
Because it's rough and it's something that we experience very early on. You know, puberty can start anywhere from, 9, then, all the way up till 15 or 16 for some people. And you have a cycle every single month until menopause. And then menopause is its whole thing. Plus, we have to deal with um, pregnancy and,
Yeah.
and all of that, labor and delivery for those who want to go down that path. So we just go through a lot.
You really do. I told you at the beginning of our relationship, I wish I could take that from you sometimes because I know it's so difficult just dealing with all of that.
You're
But
you're so sweet. And if I could, I would certainly give you some of this load to carry.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so thank you for always being so understanding and kind when it comes to this. But yeah,
of course.
I do my best to communicate and to set myself up for success as much as I can.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, I am so thankful that you are aware because I think so many women, they are feeling these things and they're feeling their emotions get out of whack. They're just angry, irritable, and they try to find someone or something to blame. And unfortunately, their partner is the one closest to them, so they kind of just get the brunt of things.
Yeah,
And so they're just like, "You need to do this better." It's like, "Ah, I'm trying."
like a punching bag.
Yeah, and so I'm really thankful that you are aware and you communicate it and you take responsibility for your own emotions, which I think not enough people do. Granted, and there are ways that I can support you in that. And you recognize like this is your thing that you're dealing with. You need to do your coping skill. You need to think differently or whatever it is. And you tend to get yourself out of that. And I love that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so same question for me. What have I learned to love about you that wasn't easy at first?
Oh my gosh. I feel
So,
like I have answers for you, but I'll let you answer.
so the ADHD,
Yeah.
and that was simply because I didn't understand it.
Hmm.
I knew about ADHD from a clinical perspective, but it took some time for me to really sit back and see how it presented in you
Yeah.
because it does present in different ways. And so that took time. I don't know how long, but one, when I first met you, you weren't even aware.
Yeah, which again more challenging because I was learning with you, so I couldn't even tell you how it presents because I didn't even know.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is another episode. We definitely
Yeah.
should spend an episode talking about that. I think
Yeah.
that could be really helpful for people. But yeah, when I first met you, you didn't know you had it. And then I would say a little bit after we got married, a couple months after we got married, is when you got a formal diagnosis.
Yeah, it was in January. We got
Mhm.
married in October.
Yeah, so it's just been a new journey for both of us.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that's just been a learning curve, just figuring it out. And a lot of stuff I was personalizing.
Mhm.
I wasn't understanding your brain
Yeah.
and why it was doing what it was doing. I was thinking that it's because I did this or didn't do that, or I said this or I didn't say that. And so it's been really freeing to know it's not me. in a
Just my
lot
brain.
in a lot of cases, like
Yeah.
Amber, it is not you, like it's him. And it's been really incredible to have you verbalize the inner workings of your brain
Yeah.
when you have that revelatory moment.
Yeah.
So as you grow, I grow. So I've really loved that. But yeah, so that was difficult when it initially happened.
Mhm.
And it is still difficult on some levels.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to thank you for the grace you have shown me because I know it hasn't been easy. And like I said, it's been difficult for both of us to navigate and to figure out how it's presenting and how it's affecting me and affecting you. And I'm thankful that you've been gracious in that because it was very easy for me to beat myself up over it because it's like, oh my, why can't my brain just work right? But yeah, I think it was easy for me to personalize it too when I'm doing this a certain way or that a certain way. It's like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get it right? And so I'm thankful that I've learned more about my brain and you've learned more about my brain too. Not just with what I've told you, but you've been doing your own research. And that's been I've loved that because you recognized that this is something that we're gonna navigate my entire life. And you realize like in order to love me better, you have to do your own research. And I didn't ask you to do that, but I appreciate that you did.
Yeah, of
So
course.
yeah,
We're in this together.
yeah.
Okay, so next question. What do you think I need to hear right now?
Ew. I don't know. I I would just say that you are beautiful, and I love everything about the way you look. And I know that hasn't always been the case for you to believe that of yourself. So I know hearing it from me is really important for you. So yeah, I think you're gorgeous. I love your skin, even when it was inflamed and attacking you. I just love your skin tone, the way it feels. I love your hair. I've told you that since I met you. I love your hair, and yeah, you're a really beautiful person inside and out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Bingo. That is what I needed to hear.
Awesome. I knew it.
Okay, what do I think you need to hear right now? I think what you need to hear right now is that you're an amazing husband. You do so much for me. Manly things like the yard work and taking care of whatever handyman thing that's happening inside. You know, the other day you were like, "Oh, we need a new air filter." It's like, I love that. Um, but you also provide in other ways, other more important ways, I would say, which would be just providing that psychological safety and that emotional support. Just really showing up for me day in and day out, whether that's because of my labile emotions or something's happening with work or skin issue or just kind of family stuff. You're always there to listen, to hug me, to pray for me. I love your prayers, and it makes me feel so special and loved and cherished. There are so many times when you're praying for me, I'm like, yes, this is what I've always wanted, you
Yeah.
know, just being really bold and really strong. And a lot of times I'm encouraged by your faith. I don't really have a lot of faith when it comes to certain things. Maybe I'm feeling kind of hopeless or just sad. And the fact that you're strong, it's like, ooh, okay, let me step into that
Mhm.
power. So thank you for just being an amazing husband to me.
You're welcome. And I've told you many times you make it easy because I couldn't be the husband I am without a safe place to do that in. And so thank you just for being a safe wife that allows me to be the husband that I am today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Oh, I love you.
I love you too. Okay, next question. What's something you're still trying to understand about me?
I think I'm still really trying to understand the different parts of your childhood and upbringing that continue to have an effect on you today. Because I think I know a lot of things, obviously, that I know have an effect on you today. But I think there are some things that you've experienced and talked about that I don't know that either one of us really knows the depth of how it has affected you and who you are today, the good parts and the not so good parts of your daily experiences. So I think that's something that I would love to continue to explore. And obviously, I'm not your therapist, but I think as you uncover some of those things, I will become more aware of those things. And obviously, I can ask questions and we can talk more about that. But
Yeah, that's really good. And that made me think of this theme in my life of always feeling like I'm behind. That definitely has popped up time and time again through different experiences that I've had.
You just have to like wait for good things to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to sit in when you haven't experienced whatever the goal is. Oh, yet again, I'm waiting. You know, this is reminiscent of when I was 10 years old and, you know, never got to experience whatever it is. So, yeah, that's huge. And we can definitely dive into that.
Yeah.
And I probably should bring that up again in therapy.
Yeah, because I think it does show up in different ways that we know of. And I think there might be some other ways that it might be showing up that we're not as aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So mine would be your needs. So in this relationship, Amber's got a lot of needs and Luis doesn't. That stems from childhood and there's a lot there. So I've asked you questions many times. Hey, what can I do for you? What do you need? And you've said, I don't really know. I know you've gone to therapy to talk about it, and slowly but surely you've been able to present certain things. So as you do that, then obviously I better understand you. But yeah, it's still a work in progress. And I told you, you are safe. It's okay to relax and let your hair down. But that ties into what we spoke about previously regarding the trauma that you experienced in your previous marriage and how that has shown up in our relationship. So that's still something that I think will take some time to uncover.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think that's something that I am getting better at expressing my needs. And I know there's definitely still a lot of work to do there because it's difficult for you to know my needs if I don't even know what my needs are. So I'm slowly learning to be more in touch with what my needs actually are and what in a perfect world would be happening in me and for me and all of that because I'm still not 100% sure on any of that. But I'm thankful that you're on this journey with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, next question is from an emotional perspective, what do I do that turns you on the most?
Ooh, I don't know. I think there's a lot that you do that stimulates me emotionally. I love, honestly, love when you talk about, it's just so nerdy, but I love when you talk about therapy and the things that you're doing with your clients and like how you're conceptualizing things. And obviously, you don't give me any identifying information, but just presenting problems and how you are dealing with the different techniques you're using. I I love hearing how smart you are because you are really smart, and I just love that we can have these conversations about the work that we do because we both love it, and it's just really it's always a stimulating conversation whenever we have done case consultations or things like that. It's been cool to see, and yeah, I love that, and even with like setting boundaries because I think that's something that I'm historically not great at. Seeing how good and comfortable you are with that, it's really it's so cool to see because I know the work that it took to get to that place for you. And so yeah, I love seeing that part of you come out.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So what do I do emotionally that turns you on?
This also may sound nerdy, but like when you're in the yard, mowing the lawn, plucking the weeds, getting rid of the shrub or I don't know the arboring language. But all of that and then also the financial management, that's one of your duties. And
which I have to do today.
okay. So emotionally, it just makes me feel so loved and cared for and cherished. You are not a husband where I have to bark at you to do the chores and try to tell you in creative ways. You know, you have your little duties and you do them.
Give me little incentives.
Yeah.
Little sticker chart.
Right? I don't have to dangle anything in front of you, you know, for you to bite. Like, no, you have your duties and you do it quickly and cheerfully and willingly. And that's awesome because yard stuff specifically, I could do it if I was in this house by myself, but honestly, I wouldn't. Like, I would hire out.
Yeah.
I would get like a high schooler or someone to do it. We have a huge yard.
Yeah.
So I love that. And then the financial stuff too, I could do it, but that's not my jam either. I just be swiping my card and kind of generally aware of things,
Yeah.
but you know, not closely aware of everything that's happening. So yeah, it just really it just solidifies your love for me.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome. I love that. I love that you give me the space to do that and you trust me with that. You're not micromanaging it because you don't trust that I'm going to do it right or anything. You trust that I actually have the knowledge and skills to do those things. And I appreciate that because it builds my confidence to be able to just do them, to even just have confidence in myself to do them. So thank you for that.
Of course. Okay, so the last question is what have we healed in each other?
Ooh, this is something that I know you and we show gratitude for each other for it fairly often because I think there are for sure things that you've healed in me and vice versa. But I think for me, you've healed the part of me that didn't trust myself. You've shown me that I can trust myself, that I am smart, that I am capable of not only being a husband, but being a good husband. Because I think one of the things that my previous marriage um, really destroyed was that belief in myself that I was as good of a person as I thought I was, because I think I went into that marriage with pretty high self esteem, like knowing what I had to offer. But I think almost everything that I felt and knew was good about me were things that I was criticized over or that was torn down. So I think it really just made me doubt a lot of myself. So yeah, just you validating those things in me and showing appreciation for those things that I feel like should be appreciated or should have been appreciated has been really healing for me.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to fill that,
Yeah,
to fill that void in your heart.
for sure. So what have I healed in you?
I would say the father wound tied to that is that rejection, sensitivity, and abandonment that I experience. Yeah, people just leaving, not staying, not being committed. I love that. That's been the most beautiful thing to experience. And knowing that I didn't have to, of course, I have to put in work in this marriage, but I'm not having to tap dance and do all the juking and jiving, to get you
Yeah.
to be committed. I just show up as my authentic self and you recognize that it was wonderful and you chose me and you still choose me day in and day out. And that's everything. Like knowing that you're committed to me now to the end of time is huge. Like I never have any fear of you just leaving me. I know that is not the case for a lot of people. And so I'm really fortunate to have that. And I just feel your love every single day in a myriad of ways. So thank you for healing that part of me.
You're welcome. You're worth it. And again, you make it easy. You're easy to love. And so I just can't imagine someone being with you who wouldn't love those parts of you well. And at the end of the day, I'm glad that I get to be that person.
Right?
So, yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, that was awesome.
I love, we love these questions and questions like this. And like we said, we do it on date nights all the time when we're having dinner or when we're having drinks afterwards or something like that. But we also like doing it when we are just at home and feel like we've been watching TV a little too much. We do it just as a, not a reset necessarily, but just as a reconnecting point because it always brings out good conversation and things that we didn't know about each other or things that we maybe have forgotten, and that it's a good reminder. So thank you for always being willing to do this and suggesting it a lot of times too.
Yeah,
So,
of
yeah.
course. And we also love doing it on road trips.
Yeah, road trips too, for sure.
We love a good podcast or some jammy jams. But yeah, it's like, oh, let's do some questions. So yeah, we're always evolving, always upgrading, just like an iPhone. And so it is important to be intentional with your partner and have these check-ins. So again, if you're interested in doing some kind of a relationship card deck question like this, please go to shop.theskindeep.com. They have digital card decks as well as physical card decks. If you use the code Married Therapist, you can get 15% off.
Yes, you will not regret it. It will be so impactful for your relationship. And they have different card decks. So they have ones for couples, they have ones for like friends, for even for individuals, like if you just want to get to know yourself better.
Families,
Yeah.
coworkers, really every single group that you can imagine. So thank you guys as always for tuning in. Whether you're watching this or you're listening to it, please be sure to subscribe, to comment, to like, and share. We love the support. It means everything to us. So
Catch you next time.
thank you.